Good morning and welcome to Our Issues Milwaukee. I'm your host, Andrea Williams. This morning, our focus is on the upcoming Ceasefire Week happening in Milwaukee, May 12th through the 18th. My first guest is the Reverend Darius Butler, who's pastor of Tabernacle Community Baptist Church in Milwaukee. And we're also being joined by Marty Forman of Midwest Forman Recycling. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for being here. And the two of you actually play a really important role in a large pool of people, which includes Milwaukee police, elected officials, clergy leaders, along with community and business leaders when it comes to bringing peace to the streets of Milwaukee. So I really do appreciate you being here to shed some light on this anti-violence initiative. Reverend Butler, if you would, tell us more about Milwaukee's Ceasefire Week that, again, is happening May 12th through the 18th.
Well, for the last 10 years, Mayor Barrett has led the city in an attempt to raise awareness to what is an increasing problem of violence among inner city communities. And for this year, a signature feature of the particular week is a gun buyback program that will be hosted at Tabernacle Church. Mm-hmm. Throughout the week, there will also be other events. State Representative Mandela Barnes is having a town hall forum at the City Hall on that Tuesday evening. And then there's the Ceasefire Community Walk on Saturday morning at 9 a.m. that will also lead from Tabernacle.
Okay, and like you said, those are just a few of the things that are taking place, and I'd like to make our viewers at home aware of exactly the dates of those. May 13th is the Community Forum on Gun Violence. That's at 6 p.m. at the City Hall Rotunda. May 14th, Milwaukee Police's Spring Merit Awards, which is happening at 6 p.m. at the Safety Academy. May 17th, as you mentioned, is the Ceasefire Community Walk. That starts at 9 a.m. at Tabernacle Community Baptist Church, and that march is going to the North Side Y,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
And your church is located exactly where?
25th and Medford, 2500 West Medford Avenue.
Okay, so that walk is going to be sending a message through the community that everybody is united and working together to stop the violence on the streets, specifically
Correct.
in our neighborhoods.
Yes, we've asked pastors and their congregations, we've asked community organizations, civic groups, anyone who is concerned about making a public representation against violence, they're asked to join us.
All right. Also on the 17th, a gun buyback. That's from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Tabernacle. And then May 18th is Mayor Barrett's 10th annual Ceasefire Sabbath. We'll talk a little bit about that later in the show. But speaking of the gun buyback, Marty, you are the owner of Midwest Forman Recycling. When you take those guns that you receive, what exactly are you going to be doing with them?
Well, we're going to do what we do every day. I've done for 35 years, and that's just melt down metal that is no longer wanted for what it was and making it to something more useful. In fact, we're going to make garden tools from the guns that we grind up, and a good share of the other scrap metal dealers in the Milwaukee area are joining in this effort, and we've put up the money to buy the guns.
All right, so you've got about $76,000 that has already been pledged in private donations to assist with the cost of the gun buyback. And as you mentioned, other scrap metal companies have joined forces with you to help with this. So that means no city taxpayer money is being used to buy back these guns. And for a lot of people, that's good news.
Well, we put up all the money to start this. We believe that when we actually start selling items that were made from melted guns, that are no longer capable of violence, but they're capable of maybe growing new things in the garden. We believe that people will pay to buy these tools, and they will pay a little extra so that after the thing gets going, it will be completely self-sustaining, and we won't have to pay any more money. It'll just be a kickstart that will be the beginning of a self-sustaining project.
Yeah, and I love the symbolism there to take something that ultimately is capable of taking a life and making it into something that can grow into something beautiful that people can admire. So that's pretty significant.
I'm pretty sure the pastor could tell you all about beating swords into plowshares.
Yes.
Spears into pruning hooks, yes.
And
yes.
is that because
Yes.
you are originally from the Bahamas, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yes. Well, I think at one of our planning sessions, Marty really gave us a theological articulation of what is behind this, that we are attempting really to create a vision of a city that can sustain civic and communal life. And certainly Isaiah's vision is something that we both share in common as part of the Judeo-Christian heritage. Yeah.
I love that. And with your background being from the Bahamas, what is it like for you to make the transition from the islands to a place with a nice chill to it like Milwaukee? Yeah. Just wondering.
Well, of course, having lived there, my experience has been the native experience, which comes with all of the complexities of any urban center. And unfortunately, my family experienced homicide within our family. One of my brothers 7 years ago was killed, which really makes this particular issue that more personal, more passionate for me. So yeah, it is something that's very near and dear to my heart.
Wow, thank you for sharing that with us. Now, how much money, and this is what people who have guns at home who have decided to go ahead and get rid of them, because let's face it, most of the time you've got guns that are around the house, and what unfortunately happens in some cases, you get a child who gets a hold of that gun, and then we have a tragedy or something along those lines. So the goal is to get these guns off the streets and make everyone safe at the same time. So how much money can a person get for a gun that they're bringing in on that day?
The way the city structured it is they divided it into 3 different categories and prices. So you'll get a little less for a rifle or a shotgun, you'll get a little more for a handgun, and then you'll get a lot more for an assault type gun. So basically it was the damage that these guns can do on the streets. The more damage, the more we're willing to pay to get them off.
Absolutely, which makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. So, Reverend Butler, not only are you the pastor of Tabernacle Community Baptist Church, you also provide pastoral support to the Milwaukee County Sheriff's Office as chaplain, and you serve as an outreach leader for the American Israel Public Affairs Committee. So, you actually are involved in a lot of things here in our community and helping making a difference.
Yeah, I mean, so I've been called to serve not just a congregation, but a community and a city. And wherever my leadership can be manifested for the public good, for a larger and greater cause, that's a part of my calling. Yeah.
All right. And how important is it for your congregation to be a part of this anti-violence initiative? I mean, we've mentioned that the walk and the gun buyback are both happening at your church. How do you feel about being kind of like the nucleus of what's going on?
Well, my congregation has already experienced this kind of trauma, right? So 4 years ago, the first year of my pastorate, get a 5 a.m. call. It's a member who's on the scene of a double homicide. His niece, her life was taken. 2 years ago, I'm going to the cemetery to bury one member, and I get the call that another member's son had been killed at his scrapyard on Burleigh. So I've walked with families to the cemetery to inter their loved ones in the earth, and I see the pain. I know what kind of grief they have to carry for a long period of time. And for families who've already been to the cemetery this year, our hope is that we would lessen the number that have to go there before the year is over.
Yeah, Mayor Barrett has been quoted as saying that if you can stop one murder with this gun buyback, that's everything. That's a life saved. So our hopes are that many lives are saved through this initiative. And this is just a small part of what we all can do together to make a difference in our community. And you were talking about going through some of the things that members of your congregation and individuals in the particular neighborhood where you live have experienced. You call the area around Tabernacle Ground Zero. Explain that.
There are 4 out of 31 zip codes of the city where this violence really takes place. It's 53212, 53209, 53204, 53206, where our church is. And so we're really the place where much of this is taking place, where it's happening, and we wanted to be a part of the witness that gives an alternative reality rather than simply complain about what is the problem, to be a part of the solution. And we understand that this is not a panacea for this particular challenge. However, we refuse simply to be silent and to be idle when there is something that we could do tangibly. So that's really our involvement.
Absolutely. I love that. And Marty, your company actually is a multi-generational company that represents the largest container scrap service in the region. How important is it for your business to be a part of this anti-violence initiative?
Well, I guess part of it is we're in 53209, so we're in one of those zip codes. I grew up in the city. I went to Sherman School and Stuyvesant Junior High and Washington High School. I'm a lifer in Milwaukee. I don't like the fact that things have gotten a lot harder for a lot of people, and I can be part of something to change a small part of that by doing something that I know how to do. I've been doing my whole life, and fortunately I got a lot of friends in the scrap metal business in here in Milwaukee, and they're on to it and they're invested in it. And most importantly, I would give a lot of credit to Mayor Barrett, because he showed a lot of courage in pushing for this for a long time. He and I have been at this for years, trying to build a base of support for this, and he's been just great. And not the first time that he's showed courage in the face of violence, by the way.
Absolutely. You can say that again. And speaking of the mayor, he appeared on this show last year to discuss his annual Ceasefire Sabbath and the role that the faith community plays in our community, so in actually making a difference. So we can take a quick look at that video and see exactly how he feels about what it is you do.
I view the faith community as an incredibly important partner in doing what we're doing, because they can reach so many people that we can't reach. And what happens in the pews on Sunday morning is important, but what the churches do throughout the rest of the week is also very, very important. And so the chief and I met with some faith leaders last week. We talked about that at the White House yesterday, how important the faith community is to this. So don't underestimate the strength that the faith community can have in helping us deal with these issues as well.
Absolutely. So that's the Ceasefire Sabbath that you do. You've done it for 9 years now,
9 years,
I think.
but we want to continue it. We want to expand it in the sense that I really believe that the church leaders can help us and help their congregation members as well.
That was excellent, and I too am equally impressed with the mayor. Whenever I call for him to come here and talk about the things that's going on in our city, he is here, and I think that's important for our leaders to be willing to make the residents or the citizens aware of what they're trying to do to make a difference. And so, Reverend Butler, May 18th is the 10th annual Ceasefire Sabbath, in which all faith communities are asked to preach messages of peace. And with that said, in your opinion, how effective is the Ceasefire Sabbath?
I think it's very effective. One, it raises awareness to the issue. And then two, it calls us to give a tangible response based upon our faith. So one of the epistles of the New Testament would tell us faith without works is dead. And the seminal text, I think, for that weekend is what Jesus says in Luke chapter 22 as he has come to be arrested. And there is a scuffle that ensues in the garden, and the ear of one of the guards is taken off by the sword. Jesus responds immediately with 4 words that really represent the battle cry of a new revolution: no more of this. And I think as often as we can say that definitively, no more of this, would be consistent with the faith of the Christian tradition.
Absolutely. And I wanted to get both of your opinions because 8th District Alderman Bob Donovan, he has been quoted as saying, city officials need to offer a little more to our residents than prayer services and marches. What are your thoughts when you hear that?
Well, Alderman Donovan is a politician. I'm God's preacher, and I have a script. It is my holy book. And this is consistent with my faith. And I would love to see him present at the walk and present at the buyback. It's easy to criticize, but it's time to do something.
Absolutely. Time to do something. We have to do as much as we can to make a difference. And if that's inch by inch, then eventually we will
Yes.
get a mile ahead.
Yes.
The journey
Yes.
of 1,000 miles certainly does start with one single
Yes.
step. So I agree with that. What are your thoughts when you hear something like that?
I'm just, I always was told by my father that you should put your money where your mouth is. So those of us that are behind this are putting our money towards buying guns from people that don't want them, guns that aren't hunters' guns or guns for protection or valuable guns or something that people have every right and reason to have, just junk guns that you don't need in your house. Guns that your kids or your grandkids might pick up by accident and cause terrible things to happen. And we're going to recycle those guns into garden tools. And honestly, there's nothing political about it.
Absolutely. Thank you both for being here. And I think I speak for a lot of people when I say thank you for your commitment and all that you're doing to make a difference in our community.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you
Thanks.
again. Want to remind everybody again, Milwaukee Ceasefire Week is May 12th through the 18th. And as we wrap up, I just wanted to also kind of reiterate some of the things that people have to look forward to. May 13th is Community Forum on Gun Violence, 6 p.m. at the City Hall Rotunda. May 14th, the Milwaukee Police Spring Merit Awards at 6 p.m. at the Safety Academy. May 17th, the Ceasefire Community Walk starting at 9 a.m. at Tabernacle Community Baptist Church. That's at 2500 West Medford, and the walk is going to the North Side Y. And also on May 17th, a gun buyback from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Tabernacle, with May 18th wrapping up the week with Mayor Barrett's 10th annual Ceasefire Sabbath. Reverend Darius Butler is the pastor of Tabernacle Community Baptist Church, and Marty Forman is the owner of Midwest Forman Recycling on Milwaukee's North Side. Again, Milwaukee Ceasefire Week is May 12th through the 18th. Please join and help make a difference. When we return to Our Issues Milwaukee, we'll find out more about an initiative that's primary goals are to decrease rates of violence in identified areas of Milwaukee and to strengthen community capacity to prevent future violence. We'll hear more about the Medical College of Wisconsin's Violence Prevention Initiative right after this.